Today, we're going to be talking about the Innovv H5. If you're not familiar with Innovv, they make dash camera systems, but now they make a helmet action camera. When I say action camera, the first thing you may think of is a GoPro. And while this thing has some similarities, there are also some differences. We're not going to focus on that in this video, but I am going to touch on those at some point in the video because I do think it's the elephant in the room, and I want to make sure you understand the differences between this and a GoPro. And I'll even do some comparisons for footage and explain about how the audio works compared to a GoPro and some of those things. Now let's unbox this thing. Here we see the main components I've already taken out of the box. We have the DVR unit, which is capable of 4K video with image stabilization, a battery bank, a USB charging cable, and an accessory that will allow you to power this off of any USB port. Whether you plug it into a power source such as the motorcycle itself or a battery bank that you may carry with you that would provide more runtime than the included battery pack that comes with the unit. This is the lens of the unit, and on the other side is where you can insert an SD card. This has a 512 gigabyte max size, and there's a USB-C port that is the connection to the external packs or the battery pack. Once you get it lined up and pushed together, you slide these silver tabs down to lock it in place. There is a button on the top that you can use to turn the device off and on, and there is a red light and a green light to indicate that it is recording and to indicate when the Wi-Fi is active. There is an accessory pack that you can connect in place of the battery that will provide power through a USB cable to any USB power source that you so have available, whether it be a port on the motorcycle or a large battery bank that you may carry in your jacket pocket. I did not find the weight of this camera to be noticeable while it is hanging off the side of a helmet while riding. I really couldn't tell it was there. They also provide an instruction guide, and they provide some mounting hardware. There are a couple of different ways to mount the clamp. One is a unique method that they provide, and I'll show you that later, and the other uses like the GoPro type connections. They provide a handlebar mount, but I chose to put the GoPro style connection on top of a handlebar clamp that I already had for my GoPro and use it that way so that I could compare the image stabilization between it and a GoPro that I've used previously and see how it did. When you first turn the unit on, the Wi-Fi becomes active, but it will disable the Wi-Fi after so many minutes so that it can conserve battery. You are able to adjust this time in your app on the phone. The base unit is about $270. Innovv sent me an accessory that you can use to record using a mic mounted inside your helmet. If you buy that as part of the bundle, you can get this system for about $300. But if you buy it separately because you find you want to add it later after buying the unit, it's going to cost you an additional $45. Let's get this thing mounted on my new Scorpion XO GT930 modular helmet. You'll need to pop your cheek pads out and position the mic somewhere in there, then lock the cheek pads back down. Once you get the mic mounted, go ahead and run the cable back out through the neck of the helmet. Then you'll need to use the sticky 3M adhesive mount to position the helmet on the outside, peel the backing off, and put it in place where you think it will work best on your helmet. Because this is a modular helmet, I do have to move it back pretty far because the whole chin part of this helmet does move. I do think the mounting system that they have provided works nicely. You're able to tilt it left and right, up and down, so you can really point it the way you need to. It's very adjustable, but yet once you position it, it seems to hold its position well. It doesn't seem that the wind pushes it or moves it or changes the angle of the camera any. Next, let's talk about some of the features. Now, while we're talking about these, I'm going to show you some clips while I was riding and recording with it. I rode the pig trail with it. I rode some this fall when the leaves were turning. Now, none of this footage right now is edited. This is the raw footage, how it looks uncolor corrected or anything else, with just the image stabilization on, recorded in 4K. Now, the battery that comes with this unit is a 2400 milliamp battery. And like I said, it will run you about 5 hours. I tested within 5 minutes of the advertised 5-hour time when I did a runtime test to run this thing completely dead from a full charge. Of course, if you hook it up to a USB battery bank or to a USB port on the bike, you can let it run for a lot longer than that. It also has an IP65 rating, which means it's splash proof and dust proof. Enhanced image stabilization seems pretty good to me for a sub $300 action camera. I don't think it's quite as good as GoPro's Hyper Smooth on, say, the newer cameras, but probably really close to the GoPro 7 that I've been using. When you press the button to turn the unit off or stop it from recording, anything like that, you get a vibration feedback, and it works very well. It's very easy to feel and hear that vibration feedback. So it's using very standard formats for the video and photos. Photos are JPEG and movies are MP4. So that's great. You're not using some less common standard for those files. Photo resolution, like I said, can be 20 meg, 10 meg, or 5 meg. As I mentioned earlier, max video resolution is 4K 30 frames per second, but there is no option for 24 frames per second. If you're looking for something that does 24 frames per second, this is not your camera. The field of view is about 120 degrees, and this thing weighs like 150 grams. The Wi-Fi is 2.4G, and they say the working temperature goes all the way down to -5 Celsius. The charging time for the battery that's included with the unit is about 2.5 hours. So I found that to be realistic with the runtime test that I performed as well. Let's take a second and talk about how this compares to a GoPro, because I do think that's the elephant in the room. First, let's put two clips up here. These are both from the Innovv H5 camera. Now the one on the left is raw. It has had zero editing done straight out of the camera. The one on the right, I've done a little bit of color correction, giving it a little more of the look that you would normally see from a GoPro that's running the GoPro color correction built into the camera. It's a little more saturated, the blues are a little brighter, greens are a little brighter, that kind of thing. Now, we're gonna use the color corrected image from the H5 and compare it to a GoPro that I was running at the same time. Now, the angle of the cameras are a little different because they're obviously mounted in different places on the helmet. One's on the side, one is in the front. But if you look at the grass and you look at the sky and the clouds and stuff like that, I think the image quality from this camera is very good compared to a GoPro, which is a dedicated action camera. GoPro's been doing this a long time. Now, this is a GoPro 7 Black. This is not even the latest GoPro. They're up to 11 now. I don't own one of the newer ones, so I can't compare it to those. A new GoPro 11 Hero Black is over $500, and that's without a media mod or anything else to be able to do audio. This camera is $270. Now you can buy an older GoPro for just under $300, but that doesn't get you audio. You're gonna have to buy a mic adapter or a media mod depending on which GoPro it is, things like that as well. For $30 additional to this, you can have a mic adapter. Now, another thing about this unit is the H5 has basically a 5-hour battery. Yeah, it weighs a little more than the GoPro in that form with the 5-hour battery on it, but you have a 5-hour battery and you have the ability to plug it into USB and run it indefinitely. You can do that with GoPros too. You can plug them into battery packs to get additional time, things like that. But the 5 hours was pretty nice. I mean, that's gonna do a lot of riding without having to worry about swapping out a battery. You can make these things work in a similar manner. This thing works kind of like a dash cam when you have it hooked up with the USB power source. The minute you plug it into something with USB, it turns on and it's ready to run constantly. Now, when you have the battery pack on it, you do have to turn it on and it automatically starts recording. There's no buttons to change the settings or do anything like that. That's all done through the app. Press the button, turn this thing on, and you're recording in whatever video setting you've got. And you can click it to take a photo while you're recording, but that's it. I mean, there's no time lapse, there's none of these other modes or features. So that's another difference. Now, I don't ever use any of those things in the GoPro. I almost 99% of the time use video. So those other things are maybe really cool for other creators that want those features. I just don't use them. I use the action camera to capture video action on the motorcycle. And that's what this camera is intended to do. I would say if you're just starting out and you're on a budget, this may be a very suitable action camera for you. It is much better than all the other budget brands that I've ever tested as far as 4K and image stabilization. I really like the simplicity of the camera. I think the video quality is good enough for most people who are recording, and the 5-hour battery life. So those are all pros that it has. If you just want a camera to record what's going on while you're riding in case you have an accident or something like that, this thing is absolutely great. If you think of it as a dash camera that's mounted on your helmet and not on your motorcycle, that's a big plus. I mean, I get having them wired in on your motorcycle means they've always got power, they're always on and all that kind of stuff, and that's great. But you have one field of view forward and one field of view back. You can't look around and see that car coming from the side that's about to hit you and see that they have a red light or that they are running a stop sign. You know, things like that you couldn't capture with those stationary cameras maybe, but with this you could. Or if there's an accident around you, you look at it, you've got it recorded from that dash cam that's mounted on the helmet, the action camera. you might not be able to catch those things with the stationary cameras on the motorcycle. If something happens and you have to get off the motorcycle, there's car runs you off the road, maybe you're not hurt real bad, you get up, you're checking out the bike, you still have that helmet on, you're going to record more of that than you would if you just have cameras on the bike, most likely. And to be honest, if you have multiple motorcycles, this goes with you wherever your helmet goes. You don't have to worry about having a different dash cam setup for each bike if you have multiple bikes and you're into being able to have dash cam footage in case of an accident or anything else that occurs. Now, I've talked about dash camera systems in the past. I've used them. I think they are great to have. I have friends who have been in an accident and had no video footage, and they have no memory recollection of the day of the accident at all. They're completely wiped from their memory. They have no idea what happened. They were told there was no footage. It's their word against the person that hit them because they can't remember anything. And you know, it sucks. They really didn't have anything to go fight with to prove that that other person was at fault. You know, it's a terrible situation, and having video footage in a situation like that can really make a huge difference in the outcome with the insurance, with who's at fault, with making sure you get, that you didn't cause the accident, you didn't run the red light, that car ran a stop sign and hit you, or they ran a light and hit you. So I am a big fan of having cameras on the bikes, and in some ways I definitely like this camera setup better than a stationary camera on the motorcycle because I ride different motorcycles. I can take this on different bikes. I can take it if I'm doing a test ride on a different bike. I don't have to worry about how I'm going to wire it up or anything else. I can just put it on there and run. I'll make sure I put a link to this product in the description down below in case anybody's interested in purchasing it, so you can make sure you get the same exact unit I'm talking about. All right, guys, I hope you like this video. If you do, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. You guys all stay safe. Thank you for your support, and keep on riding.